I gotta say, Dead by Daylight is certainly kicking off year 7 with an absolute bang. Holy moly, the devs just announced their developer update showing a bunch of stuff coming to the game and a bunch of changes they're making. And these are like massive changes that are gonna just really shift a lot of core elements of the game. And I wanted to go over a lot of it because just wanted to share my thoughts, and maybe some of you haven't read this stuff yet, and yeah. Let's just get right into it. The first thing that they talk about in this update is probably my favorite part of the update, to be honest with you. It's survivor disconnect bots. Thank goodness. I was wondering when this was going to happen. They mentioned it during the anniversary stream. I didn't know if it was going to be towards the end of this year or soon. Looks like it's going to be soon, which is awesome. The amount of survivors that have been disconnecting from matches, especially like early at 4 or 5 gens, sometimes they're first down. That sucks so bad when your teammates do that and you're just left there to 1v3 the killer. It's terrible. So it's nice that they're adding this. At least bots will still go and do gens or be a distraction for the killer. And let's be honest, these bots will most likely play better than half of your solo queue teammates anyway, so very excited for this change. Next, they talk about report feedback. I guess it's just a more in-depth reporting system. I guess it actually tells you when the devs do something about your report, whether or not it led to them banning the person that you reported, which is kind of cool, I guess. Maybe it'll show all those people who falsely report people that nothing happens. So when you log in and you don't get a message saying, hey, that person was banned, that means that your report didn't do anything and you should stop falsely reporting people. And if you did report somebody for a valid reason and they get banned, you have peace of mind knowing that, you know, you actually did something with your report. So I guess that's kind of cool. They're finally buffing Sadako. Thank goodness. Honestly, she's pretty fun to play currently, but not very strong. When you get good survivors, it is pretty tough because she doesn't do much in chase. She can teleport and she can, you know, spread condemned, and you can do the whole slugging condemned playstyle, which obviously a lot of survivors hate, but playing her just normally and trying to chase good survivors is pretty challenging with her. She can't really do much, so they're giving her a pretty interesting buff. So they're making it to where every single time that she teleports, she spreads 3/4 of a stack, so almost a full stack of condemned, to anybody not carrying a tape. So basically, every time you'll teleport, it's not just going to spread condemned to the people next to the TV, which is how it is right now. It's going to spread condemned to everybody, so it'll actually slowly build up constantly for everybody over time. So it's going to give survivors more of an incentive to go and get tapes and put them in the TVs and kind of waste more time, get off gens, I guess. They also made it to where the TVs are not shut off for as long. So when you would teleport to a TV, they would be disabled for 100 seconds. Now it's only 70, so you have 30 seconds taken off there, which is nice. You can teleport more frequently and spread condemned more often. They did increase the time a TV is disabled after a survivor removes a tape from it, I guess just because you're giving survivors more incentive to go pull the tapes out of TVs and stuff. So the TVs will be turned off longer when the survivors actually interact with it, as opposed to when she's teleporting to them. They also added a 15-second cooldown to projection just because you're spreading it more frequently, so they don't want you to just be able to mori people super quick, which I suppose makes sense. They added quite a bit to the tapes as well. If you get hit with a basic attack while you're carrying a tape, you get 1 stack of condemned. If you're carrying a cursed tape and you're hooked, all the other survivors will get a stack of condemned, and the tape will be destroyed. That's actually very interesting and a cool way to spread condemned to other survivors. If you're holding a tape, you won't passively build condemned. That makes sense. And then they made it to where you can put tapes into any of the TVs across the map. It's not just one TV that it assigns you, so that you're able to get rid of your condemned faster. When you're in the demanifested state, you can't be stunned, and also you don't start chases, so I guess it makes it easier for you to sneak up on them, and you don't have bloodlust, which makes sense. And then they just mentioned they're going to change some of the add-ons as well, but don't really go into specifics. A big core mechanic of the game that they're changing is hook grabs. They're actually taking them away entirely. So you know how when you're rescuing a survivor, the killer can grab you off, and a lot of times you have to play this game where you just kind of tap the hook to get the killer to hit you so that they don't grab you off. Well, now the killer just can't grab you at all. So you can just hold the survivor, and then if the killer hits you and interrupts you, then you can, you know, get the unhook and trade and whatnot. But the killer can't actually grab you off anymore. Honestly, I think this is a good change, and I know you're probably thinking that's weird coming from me, the guy who face camps his Bubba sometimes, but hey, if I'm face camping his Bubba, I don't need a hook grab mechanic. I could just chainsaw them and they die, so not really worried about this. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I think the little unhook game where you're tapping the hook over and over, I think it's a bit tedious as survivor, and also as the person on the hook, I think it's a little tedious to deal with. And yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think it's gonna hurt the killer that much. You're still gonna be able to trade in most cases. Sometimes if survivors are coordinated and swarm around the hook and body block, they might get out, but that's just the survivors playing well, and that's what happens. And survivors should be able to get out of that situation. They shouldn't just be stuck trading forever, or the person on hook shouldn't just be stuck there forever. They should have an option to, you know, try to get a clutch play at the end. So I think that this makes for more of an interesting endgame situation when a killer is trying to defend a kill, and survivors are still risking themselves to save their teammates. And yeah, overall, good change. Now, those of you killer mains upset about the hook grab challenge, don't worry, because they're nerfing brand new parts. That's right, those toxic gen rushers are being put in their place. Yeah, they're making it to where essentially, long story short, brand new part will save 10 seconds on gens now compared to 22.5 seconds. So they're nerfing it by more than half. So it's still gonna, you know, give you some benefit, but it's severely nerfed. Moving on to perk changes, there's a lot of really interesting and cool stuff in here, and I think it's gonna shift up the meta a bit, at least for a while, because a lot of this stuff seems like it's gonna be fun to try and use. They're buffing coup de grace. I'm saying that right, I think, right? I hope. But yeah, they're making it to where you get more stacks once gens are done. You get 2 tokens whenever a gen is done now, versus 1. So you have more fun coup de grace lungy attacks throughout the match, and this could actually be really fun to use now. Obviously, with it being only 1 stack per gen, you just weren't getting that much use out of it. But 2 stacks per gen, you might actually get some really solid use out of it, and it could just be fun and funny to use with certain meme builds as well. So I'm excited to try that out. Claustrophobia is getting a very interesting buff as well, where this perk, a lot of you probably don't even know what it does because nobody uses it, but it blocks the vaults within 32 meters of a gen that's done, and they're actually changing it to where there's no restriction to the range. So as soon as a gen is done, it sounds like all vaults on the map are going to be blocked for I don't know what the time is, a certain amount of seconds, but all of the vaults, all the windows will be blocked. So that's actually really interesting. Every time a gen is done, you just get bamboozle on every window in the entire map. Am I getting that right? That's pretty neat. That'll be fun to try. Hangman Strick is getting a slight buff. It's now becoming a Scourge Hook, and you will see the aura of all survivors within a Scourge Hook, which will come in handy every once in a while. If you have survivors that are trying to sabotage your Scourge Hooks, you'll know that they're there. Maybe it'll come in handy with Starstruck. I'm sure that there's use out of this. I don't think it's going to be used very often, though. They're buffing Territorial, which is the one that you see the aura when they go in the basement, if you're a certain distance away from the basement. They shortened the distance, so now you only have to be 24 meters away from the basement, and you see their aura for longer. You see their aura for 6 seconds. I don't... Still not great. It might make for some fun meme basement builds, but I don't think it's going to be anything that people are going to use, to be totally honest with you. Remember Me is actually getting a pretty wild buff as well to the exit gates. If you don't know, every time you hit your obsession, or every time they lose a health state, you get a token that makes it to where the exit gates take longer to open. It's getting buffed by a fair amount. The max was 16 seconds before. Now it's 24 seconds. So an 8-second buff to Remember Me. So gates will take 24 seconds longer to open if you have max stacks. Crowd Control is getting a massive buff. Look at this. It used to be 10, 12, and 14 seconds that vaults were blocked. Now it's going to be 40, 50, and 60 seconds. Obviously they can cleanse it, but that is really a long time. So that might come in handy. That's neat. They also buffed Trail of Torment, which is cool. It's gonna make for some really neat stealth builds. So it used to be you'd kick a gen, you'd be stealthy, and then once you hit a survivor, you lose the oblivious status effect. But now the perk stays active until the generator stops regressing. So even if you hit a survivor, you will stay oblivious, you will stay stealthy until the generator stops regressing. So until it depletes all the way down, or until a survivor gets back on it. So that's going to be really fun to use for a lot of different stealth builds. Moving on to the survivor perks, those toxic gen rushers are getting slapped again because Prove Thyself is getting nerfed. One of the most used survivor perks in the game. Holy cow. It's getting nerfed. The speed bonus is getting nerfed to 10% as opposed to 15. So, and to add insult to injury, they're removing the blood points. No more extra blood points for you, says Behavior. Blast Mine enjoyers can be happy, however, because they're increasing the duration of Blast Mine to 120 seconds instead of 45, so you'll get much more use, or more likely to get a Blast Mine stun on a killer, which is always a good time. Speaking of durations, they're also increasing the duration of Wiretap to 120 seconds from 80. So there you go. There you go, Wiretap enjoyers. I don't really use Wiretap, but it's pretty cool. Saboteur is being buffed. This is going to be fun. This is going to make people happy. It's going to make killers salty probably, but they're making it to where you can sabotage a hook a bit quicker, and they're reducing the cooldown so that you can sabotage hooks more frequently. I'm skipping the clairvoyance buff because I don't care about it. Breakout, which is going to pair well with Saboteur. They're increasing the speed at which the Wiggled Survivor gets off to 25%. It was 20. They are making it to where you have to be slightly closer to the killer, though. You had to be within 6 meters. Now you have to be within 5. But so you have to, basically be slightly more at risk to get hit by the killer. But you can get them off quicker. So that with the new Saboteur might make for some fun Sabo plays. And before you complain about toxic bully squads, the people who are doing this stuff are not on gens, okay? They're going for Sabo plays. They're goofing around because they don't want to sit on gens. Stop complaining about bully squads, okay? Jesus Christ. Do you want them to just sit on gens all game and have a 4-minute, 5-minute match? Stop it. You want survivors to be saboing hooks and going for flashlight saves. That's how games get extended. That's how you have a chance to add pressure yourself as the killer. They're not bullies. They're having fun. Okay, rant over. Buckle Up is going to be really fun to use, especially in endgame situations. Upon healing a survivor from the dying state, you both get endurance for 10 seconds. So that's actually going to be really handy for when a killer is slugging a lot or slugging for the 4K, because if you go and pick up a survivor right before they hit you or the survivor, you're basically both gone. So that's going to help a lot in those situations where the killer's slugging a lot or slugging for the 4K. As soon as you pick up the survivor on the ground, you both have endurance and can take a hit for 10 seconds. So that's going to really help get you out of those situations. And I'm excited about that. Smash Hit, probably one of my favorite changes as well, on top of the adding bots when survivors DC. This is going to be a blast to use as survivor, I think. And I think it might even become meta, but it's going to be fun. So Smash Hit, if you don't know, is the perk where when you stun a killer, you get a speed boost and you can run away. It's like sprint burst after you get a stun. They are reducing the exhaustion status effect from 40 seconds down to 20 seconds. So with Smash Hit, you're only exhausted for 20 seconds. And if you bring Vigil, that takes off 6 seconds as well, because you recover faster. So you'll only be exhausted for 14 seconds, which means you could potentially use this perk multiple times in one chase if you play your cards right and kind of, if you have self-aware and you're kind of walking a little bit and gaining your exhaustion back. You could use this perk multiple times. Obviously, you have to get a stun. The killer can avoid it. There's counterplay. That's why I like it so much, because the killer can avoid being stunned. But if you can pull off multiple stuns and have a decently long chase, you could get multiple uses out of this perk in one chase, and it sounds like a blast. We have some killer tweaks as well. Executioner's getting a little bit of a nerf. It's not really a nerf. I mean, most people won't even notice this, but they're just making it to where if the Executioner or Pyramid Head is camping the cage within 10 meters now instead of 5, the caged person will teleport to another side of the map to avoid being camped in the cage, because it was only 5 meters. So you could basically just stand right outside that 5 meters and face camp them. And now they're making the range double so that the survivor has more of a chance to get saved, which, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to complain about that. I don't even see Pyramid Head's camping cages very often at all anyway. So Spirit, this one kind of hurts me a little bit because Spirit is my second favorite killer to play. I love her, and my two favorite add-ons are the two that are getting nerfed. Mother, I mean, to be fair, I have to, you know, look at this objectively. They're incredibly strong, probably too strong. So it's not a bad thing that they're getting nerfed. Mother-daughter ring, which would increase her speed by 40%, is being nerfed to 25, so not going to be as fast. It's almost cut in half, actually. And then Cherry Blossom is the add-on where Spirit would get Killer Instinct, get that heartbeat when they're near a survivor. They nerfed it slightly. They just made it to where instead of being 4 meters, it's being 3 meters. So I don't know how much that's actually going to affect it. I think this perk, or not this perk, this add-on will still be good. I'm still going to use these two together after, and obviously I want to test it out, but it might still be a decent combo. Spirit's still going to be very strong. She had some other add-on changes as well that I don't really care about. The Hag also got some add-on reworks that are pretty decent, I guess. The Waterlogged Shoe increases her movement speed to 7.5% as opposed to 4.5. And Mint Rag now has a reduced cooldown. So it was 15 seconds. If you don't know, Mint Rag is where you can teleport to any trap on the map. And now it has a 10-second cooldown. They actually buffed one of her strongest add-ons, which is good for Hag players. And then lastly, we have the Coldwind Farm update, which I really don't care about. They're changing Cowshed, which is I guess is good. It's a really good survivor map, but and then also Rancid Abattoir. Is that how you say that? They're changing those two maps, the layouts of them, to make them more balanced, I guess. I don't know. I wish they would have reworked Swamp over this, because we still haven't had a reworked Swamp. I don't struggle too badly as killer on these two maps. Cowshed can be a bitch. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody hates Cowshed, but yeah, I don't know. I still hate Swamp. I hate the Swamp maps with a passion. I really do. I mean, especially Grim Pantry. I hate it. I wish that they would rework that map or delete it. That's fine too. But yeah, I don't care about the Coldwind update. I mean, it'll be cool to see. It's new content. It's different. So Yahoo, but I wish it would have been Swamp. And yeah, that's that. A lot of changes. A lot of changes that I think will shift the core gameplay of Dead by Daylight. I think there's going to be a lot of people trying new perks, and I think that the Sadako update is really cool. Hopefully that'll make her a little bit more fun to play, better to play against really good survivors. The bots thing again is just phenomenal. I'm so excited for this. Let me know what you guys think down below of all the changes. If you're excited, not excited, what you would change. This is not coming to the game for sure in this exact state. There is a PTB, again, probably tomorrow, I think. So people will test that out, and if it's all good, it'll come to the live servers. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.